Are the Gears of War 4 Horde bosses devastating your base, or even ending your Gears 4 Horde game? Keep watching to discover Gears of War 4 Horde tips to make the Horde boss waves much easier. Hey guys, it's Chris with Blind Man's Bluff Gaming. Welcome back, and I hope you're doing awesome. If you're new to the channel, are you looking for more Gears of War 4 Horde tips and tricks videos? Then go ahead and hit that subscribe button and click that bell notification so you don't miss anything. Alright guys, let's start with the loadout. And we'll first talk about the strikes. Now the first strike you can equip as a soldier is called the Hammer of Dawn. Now this works on every boss and actually is really good. Now here's a tip. If possible, thin out the adds first before using the Hammer of Dawn so it has a higher chance of hitting the boss. Tip number 2, make sure the boss is stationary when you call in the Hammer of Dawn. Each boss has its own patterns, so you should be able to tell when it's stationary. Also have a teammate mark the boss so you can see them by using the TACCOM, holding in the LB button. Mortar Strike. Now the Mortar Strike, which the Heavy can equip, is wildly inconsistent, but if it hits, it can do good damage on the bosses. Plus, it's at half the price of what the Hammer of Dawn is, so maybe you can call in 2 instead of 1. Now note, the Mortar Strike is useless against the KESTREL helicopter. Now here's a tip. The Heavy's mark damage works with the Mortar Strike, so make sure that someone marks the boss before calling in the Mortar Strike. Tip number 2, called shot and mark damage stack, so make sure the sniper with called shot marks the boss, and have someone else mark it just in case. Sniper Strike. Now the Sniper Strike is useless against the boss directly, but it is effective at clearing out the adds, allowing you to focus fire on the boss. Now here's a tip. Sniper Strike will kill the enemies closest to you, so it is very effective if your base is getting overrun. Now beyond strikes, a skill that Heavies want to have on is called Mark Boost. When Mark Boost is on, it can give you up to 60% damage boost depending on its level. This works even if the Heavy didn't mark the target. Now one of the most important weapons for taking on bosses is the salvo. To take full advantage of salvos and also the turret, Heavy should be equipped with the skills Turret Damage, Heavy Weapon Damage, Explosive Launcher Damage, and Mark Damage. Now, what is the ultimate boss weapon? It's the new sniper skill called Shot. This skill came out with the Gears of War 4 Rise of the Horde update. This skill says, targets you mark take damage from all sources. That means from teammates, from sentry guns, turrets, strikes, everything. Now note, called shot also stacks on top of mark boost, so your heavies are going to be extra deadly. Gears of War 4 Horde boss wave preparations. Now one thing you want to make sure to build is a weapons locker in the earlier waves before the boss wave, so you can save up at least 2 to 3 salvos for the boss wave. Another thing you want to make sure to build before the boss wave is a decoy. Now there's no need for decoy discounts or health or anything like that, they'll work fine. Another thing you want to build is 1 to 2 turrets. Now have them manned by heavies with turret damage and mark damage. Now if you guys are running a strike like the Hammer of Dawn for the soldier, you want to make sure to save up 13,000 power or more for the boss wave. Gears of War 4 Horde Bosses, the SWARMAK. First of all, the SWARMAK's weak points are his glowing blisters. Now here's a tip for the SWARMAK. Explosive weapons will work the best against him. So the boom shot, drop shot, especially the salvo with heavy weapon damage, will make short work of popping his blisters. Gears of War 4 Horde Boss number 2, the Snatcher. Now the Snatcher's weak points are his glowing yellow parts. Tip number 1, build a decoy. Now the decoy is critical for taking down the Snatcher, so make sure you put one out before the boss wave begins. And probably 90% of the time he'll go right for the decoy, and it will distract him for pretty much the whole wave. Now here's a tip I like to do. I like to buy a decoy and just put it in the back of the base for the boss wave, so I don't have to worry about, you know, having enough power and running out just in case I need to, you know, build a decoy at the beginning of the wave. Tip number 2, explosive weapons are okay, but direct fire will work better on the Snatcher. Tip number 3, if the Snatcher is distracted by a decoy and I'm playing Engineer, I like to pick up a sentry and place it close enough to shoot the Snatcher. While my sentry is shooting, I'm refilling it with the repair tool. Now this can be a little risky, but it can wipe out the Snatcher pretty quickly. Gears of War 4 Horde Bosses, the Carrier. Now the Carrier's weak points are his glowing chest when it's open. Now you can still damage the Carrier by shooting him normally, but it's going to take significantly longer. Tip number 1, if you shoot his open chest with an explosive weapon like a boom shot, it will detonate his pods overhead. Tip number 2, you can aggro the Carrier away from your base so he doesn't do his Hulk smash and destroy your fortifications. Tip number 3, now for some reason a sentry works really well on him. Again, one thing I like to do if I'm playing Engineer is I like to pick up a sentry and place it close enough to shoot the Carrier. Now while the sentry is shooting, I'm refilling it with the repair tool and will quickly pick it up if the Carrier is going to do his Hulk smash. Now this also again works well against the Snatcher if it's distracted by a decoy. Gears of War 4 Horde Bosses, the Kestrel. Now the Kestrel's weak points are his turbines on the side of the copter near the rotors. Tip number 1, direct fire like turrets, tri-shots, sniper shots, etc. work the best. Now salvos don't work really well against him. Tip number 2, if hit by the Kestrel's rockets you will be stunned, but you still can roll out of the way. And tip number 3, mortar strike again is useless on the Kestrel, so don't even bother.
What is your major malfunction, numbnuts?
If you are looking to stay up to date with the latest Gears of War 4 Horde tips and tricks videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Until next time guys, this is Chris. Have an awesome one.